Good morning, everyone. In today's session, we are going to set up Jenkins pipeline for full stack application deployment. So for the full stack application, as we discussed, backend will be available and front end will be available. Backend is Spring Boot application, then front end is Angular application. So this is GitHub repository of our backend application. So first, let's go to this GitHub repository. This is our GitHub repository. In this GitHub repository, our application code is available and Docker file is also available. It is a Spring Boot application. So this is the Docker file to create the Docker image for that application. And coming back to deployment.yml. So deployment.yml file is available. It is used to deploy our Spring Boot application. So here the type available as a node port. I will change this type to load balancer. I want to deploy this application and I want to expose this application as a load balancer type. Okay, when we are going for load balancer, node port is not required. Fine, this is my deployment manifest YML. Kind is deployment. I want to go for 2 replicas or 1 replica, anything is fine. Match labels available. Container port is 8080 and backend service is available. I want to expose my deployment as a load balancer service. So commit this change. So this is my backend application deployment.yml. So now I want to create one Jenkins pipeline in order to deploy this application. GitHub repository URL available. I need to build a Docker image for this and I need to deploy that in the Kubernetes cluster. So for that, let me connect with the Jenkins machine first and let me delete the existing deployments available in that. So this is my Jenkins machine. So in this Jenkins machine, whatever is available related to kubectl, I want to delete them. kubectl delete all -all. So anything that is available under a default namespace, those things should be deleted from my cluster. Now I want to create fresh deployment for my backend application. Once a backend application is deployed, then we need to go for front-end application. Now see here, guys, the Jenkins pipeline, that what I'm going to create for this. So the Jenkins pipeline, so first stage will be available as git clone. Okay, stage 1, that is git clone. The code should be taken from GitHub repository. Then stage 2 should be available, that is Maven build. Then stage 3 is Docker image creation. I don't need to push that image, guys. Already we know how to push it. Then stage 4, directly I'm going for deployment. Okay, git clone, Maven build, create image, then deployment. Now, these are the 4 stages that I'm going to take for backend application. So here git clone means git client already installed in the machine. Maven is already installed in the machine and Docker is already installed. kubectl already installed. Okay. So with this, I'm going to deploy backend application. Backend application job. Perfect. This is my backend application job. In the backend application job, I'm taking 4 stages. Stage 1, git clone, take the code from the GitHub repository. Stage 2, do the Maven build. Then stage 3, create the Docker image. Then stage 4, deploy that application by using kubectl. So in order to do all these things, guys, in this machine, Git is already installed, Maven is already installed, Docker is already installed, and kubectl also already installed. So let me create a pipeline in the Jenkins. New item. I'm going to create this Spring Boot backend job. Spring Boot backend job. Create pipeline. Click on OK. So this job is used to deploy Spring Boot backend application. This job is used to deploy Spring Boot backend application. Okay, go to pipeline. So let us take the hello world pipeline. Stage is available. The first stage I will go for git clone. Git clone. Again, we need to get the pipeline syntax for that git clone, guys. So let me go for pipeline syntax to get the git clone. So we can generate the step here. Go for git repository URL. This is our backend repository URL. I'm giving this. In the backend repository, what is the branch name? Branch name is main, guys. So let us configure the branch name. By default, it will take as a master, and I need to specify the branch name as main. Credentials, git credentials already configured. Generate the syntax. So this is git branch script that I'm going to give here. Okay, git credentials branch is main. For the previous branches, we have the master branch, but this repository having main branch. So git clone stage got configured. After git stage is completed, then I need to go for Maven. So Maven build. To do the Maven build, we have installed Maven in the Jenkins machine. So let me take that and let me configure sh mvn clean package. MVN clean package. This is Maven build. Then next one, I need to create Docker image. Create image. So in order to create the image, what is the command we are going to use? The command is Docker build -t. So that is Ashoka it is / whatever the image name that we want. In the deployment.yml, what is the image name we are using? So the image is contact backend app. So contact, that means let me give the image name as contact application backend image name. So Ashoka IT / contact backend app space dot. So this is used to create the Docker image for our application. Docker build -t, the image name I'm giving space dot. So this image name I will configure in my deployment.yml as well. So the same image name I'm going to use, right? So I'm configuring the image name like this. So it has to pull this image. So image name is configured. Then after image got created, then we need to deploy that image. So how to deploy that image? To deploy that image, I'm going for kubectl. So let me go for deploy. So what is the command to do the deployment? So the command is kubectl apply -f that deployment name.yml. So what is the deployment name.yml that we are giving? How we are going to give that? So now go here and get that deployment.yml file. So this file I'm going to configure. This file I'm going to configure here as part of kubectl apply -f deployment.yml. So fine. So if you see here, the stages are available. One is git clone that is used to take the code from the GitHub. Branch name is main, and Maven build is available, clean package. Then after creating the Docker image, this is the name I am giving for the image. I'm not pushing to the Docker Hub, guys. If you want, you can push to the Docker Hub also. Stage deploy. As the image got created, I'm going to deploy that by using manifest file. Whatever the image name we are giving, same image name we need to keep in our deployment.yml also. Fine, click on apply, click on save. Good. So with this, our job is ready. Before going to do that, let me delete all the images and containers which are available. kubectl system prune -a. So I want to delete all the unused content. kubectl system, that is Docker, Docker prune, Docker system prune -a. Yes, let me delete everything. For that, we need to give sudo command. Yes, all the images and all the unused images, stopped containers, everything got deleted. Now let us check it. Docker images, sudo docker images, no images are available here, guys. kubectl kubectl get pods, no pods are available. kubectl get service, no service is available, right? So no image is available, no pods available, and no service is available here. Perfect. Here now, I want to run my job. What my job will do? It will clone the repository. It will do the Maven build. It will create the Docker image. Then it will deploy that application and it will expose that deployment as a load balancer service. Okay. Go to EC2 instance, go to the dashboard, refresh. Currently, any load balancer is available in my account. Currently, load balancer is not available in my account. Let me run my backend job, guys. Spring Boot backend job. Click on build now. I'm running my backend job. Let's verify. Application deployment. I'm deploying only my backend application, guys. I'm deploying only my backend application. Git clone, Maven build, Git clone success, Maven build also success. It is creating the Docker image now. Image creation got success. Now it is going for the deployment. Yes, deployment also success. Let us go to the build number and verify console output. So here it is downloaded all the required Maven dependencies for that. And finally, deployment completed and deployment is exposed as a service. The status got success. Now go here. Let us verify Docker images first. Sudo Docker images. Perfect. So 35 seconds ago, one Docker image created with the name ashokit/contact backend application. Then fine. Let us verify the pods which are created. kubectl get pods. I have given the replica as one. One pod is created. That is contact backend pod created. And the pod is also in the running status. Now let me go for kubectl get service. The deployment pods are exposed as a load balancer service. Now you can see that service is created with the type as a load balancer. Load balancer URL is also available. Now this is the URL of our backend application. This is the URL of our backend application. Let's verify here, guys. Docker image got created, pods got created, and service got created. Are you guys able to see that? Fine. Now, here if you observe, the pods and everything is ready. Now with this, our backend application is ready, guys. So Spring Boot backend application is ready. We are able to deploy that. So let me check that URL is accessible or not. If you go to EC2 dashboard, if you refresh, you can see one load balancer also created. Now let us try to access that. Let me take this URL. Let me take this URL. Let me go to the browser. This is just a backend application URL. Let me hit that URL. So here I'm trying to access backend URL. That is fine. In the backend URL, we will be having Swagger documentation, Swagger UI.html. Yes, so my backend application Swagger documentation is available. As it is a REST API in the backend, so no UI will be available. Only Swagger documentation is available. So in this Swagger documentation, you can see what functionality available in our application. So there are REST API methods available to create the contact. It is like a phone book application. You can add the contact, you can get the contact, you can update the contact, you can delete the contact. All the operations are available in my backend application. My backend application is running as expected. So to test your backend application, you need to hit this URL, swaggerui.html. So this Swagger is used to generate the documentation for the REST API. Now, but our REST API is available. Our REST API is available, and we are able to access that REST API, creating the contact, getting the contacts, update the contact, delete the contact, and view the contact. That functionality is ready. Got it? So once it is done, then we need to deploy our front-end application. So front-end application is Angular application, and it should be deployed, and it should communicate with the Spring Boot. So here, guys, for the backend application deployment, stage 1 clone, Maven build, create image, deployment. Now I need to go for front-end application deployment, front-end job. Front-end application job. In the front-end application job, what are the stages will be available? So stage 1, that is git clone. The code is also available in the GitHub repository, git clone. Here, for the front-end application, guys, Maven will not work. Maven is a build tool for the Java applications. To build the Java applications, we can go for Maven, but for the front-end application, we cannot go for the Maven. Front-end application is Angular. When the front-end application is Angular or React, then our build tool is going to change. So see here, what is the build tool that we are going to use for front-end application? Front-end application job. First stage, that is fine, git clone. But the second stage, instead of a Maven build, we are going to use npm build. Node package manager we are going to use. npm build is required for that. That is the change that we are going to make. Then after creating the image and creating the deployment, that is common. So here, backend application is a Java-based application, and front-end application is an Angular-based application. Backend is Java Spring Boot. Backend is Java Spring Boot, and front-end application is Angular application. So for Java application, we are using Maven as a build tool. For Angular application, we will use npm as a build tool. In this machine, currently npm is not available. And one more important thing that we need to understand, backend application is deployed, backend application URL is available, that is running in the public platform. That is running in the public platform in the AWS cloud. So let me take the URL of the backend application. Okay, so backend app URL. So this is Git repository. I have taken the code. With that code, I have deployed my backend application. Now, front-end application should know the URL of the backend application. Front-end application is Angular application, that is separate deployment. When I deploy my front-end application, this front-end application should be able to communicate with the backend application. So in the front-end application, we need to configure the URL of the backend application. For that, guys, observe this step is very important for you. So you need to give this URL to the developers, backend application URL. Then developers are going to configure that URL in the front-end application so that front-end application will communicate with the backend application. Let me go to Git repository of the front-end application. In the front-end application, Git repository, if you go to SRC, and here app will be available. Here there will be a concept called service will be available. There will be a concept called service will be available, contact service.ts. In the contact service.ts, we will specify the URL of the backend application. So earlier, I have used localhost 8080, but now my backend is not running in the local host. My backend is running in the cloud, in the Kubernetes. So let me configure the base URL as our backend application URL. So this is our base URL, guys. So this step you need to remember, guys. You need to go to our front-end application Git repository, SRC, app, contact service.ts. The contact service.ts, that is a Angular TypeScript class. In that class, we have given the URL of our backend application. Why? Front-end application should communicate with the backend application. End user will communicate with the front-end application. Front-end application should communicate with the backend application. That's why first I have done my backend deployment. That backend deployment URL I am taking and I am configuring in the front-end application. So this service file change we have to make, then commit this change. In the real time, when we are doing these kind of deployments, once the backend deployment is completed, we will give that URL to the development team. They will configure that URL in the front-end application and they will commit the change. Code changes they will make. In the code, they are configuring the backend application URL. Once that is done, then we need to create the job for the front end and we need to deploy. But here there is a challenge. We have Maven to do the build for the Java. But what about the NPM? In our machine, NPM is not installed. So let us install NPM in order to deploy our front-end application. In the Jenkins machine, we need to install that software. So install the Node and Angular CLI in the Ubuntu machine. So by using these commands, we can install NPM in our machine. We already installed Maven. Now let me take this command, curl command, install the NPM because we need to do the build of that application. I'm downloading the NPM, done. Then source bash RC. Okay. Then NVM install node. By using NVM manager, I'm installing the node in this. Node software I'm installing. Then check the node version. Yeah, node version 20 got installed. NPM install Angular CLI. Angular CLI we are installing in this by using NPM. This is used to build our front-end application, guys. Node.js getting installed. To deploy the React application also process is same. NPM will be used to install that. Okay. NGV, check the node version. Angular CLI 15 got installed in this machine. Perfect. So with this, we have done that. Now let me create the jobs for the front end, build and deploy. Okay, guys. Now let me go for the Git stages in order to create these jobs. Perfect. Now, so how we are going to build this application? So just we need to give the command as ng build. That's it. Okay. So fine. Let me go here and create the job in the Jenkins. Backend deployment got completed successfully. Backend is a REST API. Backend is a simple REST API. There is no logic for the UI for that. Now create the new item. I'm going to deploy front-end, Angular front-end application, Angular front-end job. Click on pipeline, click on OK. So this job is used to deploy front-end application, Angular front-end application. Angular front-end application. In the front-end application, already I configured the URL of the back-end application. Okay. So now go to pipeline, take this, hello world pipeline, first stage, git clone. First stage, git clone. Go to pipeline syntax. Go to pipeline syntax to generate that. Go to pipeline syntax to generate that. Take that as a git repository URL. So we are having our front-end repository URL. That is a git repository. Take this, copy, give the repository URL. What is the branch name? This branch is also main branch, guys. Let me give the branch name as main, select the credentials as get credentials, generate the pipeline syntax. Take this, and give this. We have given the git clone. Then second stage is the build, guys. This step is important. So it is npm build. As it is a front-end application with Angular, we need to go for npm build, not the Maven build. For Java, it is a Maven build. For front-end, it is npm build. So sh, simple, I'm going for a command called ng build. What is the command that they are using? Ng build command we are using. Ng build, that is Angular build. Okay, let me say that here build is happening. Ng nothing but Angular, and I want to do the build. If it is Java, MVN clean package we will give. As it is Angular application, I'm giving ng build. Once the build got success, now we need to create Docker image for that. So let me create the Docker image for that. Image creation, create a Docker image. So to create the Docker image, already Docker is available here. So sh, I'm going to specify Docker build -t image name. So what is the image name we are using? In the UI deployment, we are going to specify the image name. Take that image name and let's give that image name space dot. So with this, Docker image will be created for the front-end application. The image name I'm giving as ashokit/contact UI ng application space dot. So in this repository, if you observe, Docker file is also available. Docker file is also available, which is used to create the image for our Angular application. So once that image got created, the final stage is deployment. Okay, so we are going to do the deployment. How we are going to do the deployment? By using kubectl. Kubectl apply -f. Kubectl apply -f space the deployment file name. So what is the deployment file that is available here? Contact UI deployment.yml. If you see contact UI deployment.yml, that also we are specifying as a load balancer. And here, let me give the replica as one. One pod will be created for this front-end application. So that is the image name I'm taking. Whenever you run this, it will be exposed as a load balancer service. Now let me take this contact-UI deployment.yml. Let me give that in the kubectl command. Kubectl apply -f contact UI deployment.yml. So click on apply, click on save. So with this, we are able to create our front-end job. In the front-end job, these are the stages: git clone, npm build, create image, and deployment. So in the front-end application code, already we configured the URL of our back-end application. So let me build this. I'm running this front-end job. Git clone completed successfully. Build failed. Then all the remaining stages got failed. Let's go here. See the console output. Failed. First time build, update contact deployment.yml, ng build, ng not found. ng -v. ng not installed. So whenever you are getting that ng build issue, let me execute this command, npm install Angular dev kit. That front-end build tool is not installed successfully, guys. So I'm doing a fix for that. Good. Let's try this once again. Okay. Now, is it working? Fine. Let's try this job again. Let's try to run this. NGV, now it is working. Let me try to do the build again. Front-end job, do the build now. That also failed. Console output, ng build, still is saying that ng not found. It is not able to execute ng build. Yes, let me try to do this manually. Why it is not taking that? Copy this, git clone, front-end application URL, cd space, contact UI application. Let me go for ng build. You seems to be not be depending on Angular core. This is an error. ls-l. Let me see why it is not taking that ng build. Now it is doing the build, guys. npm install, it is expecting. Let me check it. Yeah, build got success. I installed npm. So they're saying to install the npm in the project directory. Let's try. I installed outside of the directory. Job will be executed or not. Build now. Third job we are running. So console output, same problem. ng not found. So within this job, in the workspace, our job is available. Within the job, we need to go inside the directory and we need to run the npm install. Okay, where lib Jenkins workspace, cd space, where lib Jenkins workspace, ls-l. Here we are having ng front-end job, ng front-end underscore job, cd space front-end job, ls-l. So here inside this job, we need to execute npm install. So let me try to configure that in the job itself. Configure pipeline. Before going the ng build, let's execute sh npm install. Okay. So before executing the ng build command, I'm executing npm install command. Click on apply, click on save. Let's run the job. Fourth time I'm executing the job. Let us see. That also failed. Console output. npm installed. npm not found. Okay. If the npm is not found, we need to install the npm install Angular, nvm install the node, then install this nvm install node version. Let me do this installation. Configure pipeline. Before doing this, sh nvm install node. nvm install node, npm install fng angular CLI ngv. That is fine. Apply, save. Run this. Console output. nvm is not found. Build now. Failing. Console output. Okay. Guys, the problem, it is not able to recognize that ng from that job location. Okay, so here when we install that NVM outside, we are able to locate that, but from Jenkins location, it is not able to recognize that. Console output, NVM not found. It is not able to locate that NVM from the location where our job is running. So for time being, let me create the job. Let me create that build here. CD space tilde ls-l cd space contact UI ng application. I have cloned that ls-l. Let me do ng build manually here. I'm doing the manual build and I will create the Docker image manually here. So I will check the fix for this, why it is not able to read that NPM from Jenkins location. So I will check that issue for now. So from that job, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these two stages. So I will do the build manually and I will create the Docker image. I will just take the clone and I will do the deployment. So from the Jenkins job, so we are not able to do this NPM build. It is not able to recognize where that NVM or NPM is installed. I will check the fix for that. For time being, I will remove these two stages from the job and I will go for this deployment stage. My build got success. Now let me create the Docker image. I'm creating the Docker image and I will keep that image here. Go to configure. What is the command? Docker build -t image name space dot. My project build is completed manually and let me create the Docker image for that. Yes. From this location, that NPM it is able to recognize, but from the Jenkins workspace location, it is not able to recognize. With this, my Docker image got created. So let me check this. Sudo Docker images. Sudo Docker images. Now you can see my backend application image is available and front-end application image is also available. Just 11 seconds ago, my front-end application image got created. Let me go to this pipeline. Guys, in this pipeline, I'm removing these two stages because this NPM is not working from that location. I will check what is the fix for that. Let me delete these two stages. My image is created manually and I'm taking the Git repository. In that Git repository, deployment YML is available. In that deployment YML, I have configured my Docker. Okay, so let me apply and save this. Okay, 8 times we ran that job, but it got failed because in which location our job is running, in that location, it is not able to recognize the ng command. Okay, so now let me go here and click on build now. Let me go here and click on build now. I'm running the 9th job. Right, when I run the 9th job, so what it has done is directly it has taken as a git clone and it has taken the deployment directly. So with this, my front-end application deployment also completed. So only git cloning and deployment. Actually, we need to include the NPM build and we need to create the Docker image. These two stages I have done manually, guys, because I'm facing some issue with that npm command. Right. So once the deployment is completed, let us verify kubectl get pods. Kubectl get pods. So if you observe, our backend pod is running and our front-end pod is also running. Backend pod is running and front-end pod is also running. Okay, next one. Go for kubectl get a service. So here two services will be available. One is backend service with the type as a load balancer. Another one is front-end service that is also load balancer. This is my backend service URL and this is my front-end service URL. Both are deployed as load balancers. So backend application we already accessed. Swagger documentation is available and the front-end application is available. This is the load balancer URL for the front-end application. So as an end user, Now we are going to access the front-end application. That front-end application will interact with the back-end application. How this front-end application will interact with the back-end application? For that, we have configured back-end application URL. We have configured back-end application URL in the front-end application. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go here and let's access this URL. Take this URL. Now go to browser, that is front-end application URL. Let us take this URL, go to browser, access that URL. So when we access that URL, we should be able to access front-end application. Yes, we are able to access front-end application. So in the front-end application, we have functionality to see the contacts and we have the functionality to add the contact. So let me add some contact, john@gmail.com, and phone number, I'm giving some value. Okay, click on submit. Click on submit. Now, let me check this. Inspect, console, failed to load, connection timed out, error. It is trying to access this URL. Contacts application is failed to load the resource, connection timed out. Let me refresh contact list. Add the contact. Click on submit. Console. Clear the console. Click on submit. Yeah, contact ID is there. Now go to contact list. It is not adding. That means it is not able to send the request to that backend application. It is saying unknown URL, unknown error, 113.235.18.151.3001. What is this 13.235? Instances. Okay, it is trying to hit the IP address to access that application. Contact application, SRC. App service.ts. In the service, we have configured the load balancer URL, load balancer URL / contact contacts. It has to take the load balancer URL, contact, create contact, contact component. If I see in the browser why it is going with the IP address, unknown URL. Which this is taking 13.235.18.151.3001 URL, from where it is picking that URL. So this is not my Jenkins URL. 13.233.195.61 is my Jenkins URL. 13.235.18.151:3001. It is taking a wrong URL. Maybe because of images. Let me go for kubectl delete all -all. Let me delete. Let me build my job again. I'm deleting everything. I want to make the front-end deployment. Let me change the image. Maybe it is picking that image from the Docker Hub account. So it is trying to hit the wrong URL, not our load balancer URL. Actually, this front-end application should communicate with the backend by using its load balancer URL. Let me do the deployment again. I will change the image name for the front end. UI deployment, edit. Let me give the image name as UI app. Commit this change. We should not configure Swagger in the URL, guys. That is for our testing purpose. It is deleting the deployment. Yeah, done. Everything is deleted. kubectl, get pods, nothing is available. Let me run my backend job first. Dashboard, Spring Boot, backend job. Click on build now. Maven build, creating the image and doing the deployment. Backend deployment got created. Let's verify. Clear. kubectl, get pods. Guys, I got the problem. We have done the mistake is we have changed the URL in the GitHub repository, but when we have done the build, we have not taken the latest code, I think so. Let me check it. Backend deployment is completed successfully. kubectl, get svc. So this is the load balancer URL of the backend. Okay, let us take this URL and configure that URL. Okay, go to front end application service. Inside the service, we have the URL application contact service.ts, edit. So here we need to configure load balancer URL of our backend application. So HTTPS, this URL will be available /contacts. Let me hit this. This is my backend application URL. Verify is it accessible or not. kubectl get service, load balancer URL. Yes, I'm able to access that /contacts. Yeah, no data is coming for that. Okay, good. So let me take this URL. Let me configure this URL. This is backend application URL. Commit the change. Then go to our application. Here, code is modified. So let me do git pull. I have taken the latest code. After getting the latest code, let me go for ng build. I'm doing the build for this manual build I'm doing. Then I will create the image also manually. Yeah, build got success. Let me create the Docker image. Sudo docker build -t UI app space dot. I'm creating the image with a name called UI app. Image got created. So in the repository, what is the image name we have given? The image name we have given as UI app. With the same name, I have created one image. Okay, let us verify that. Sudo docker images. So here we have UI app image. Fine. Now let me run the job of the front end. Backend is completed. Let me go for front end job. ng front end job. Only 2 stages: git cloning and deployment. Do the build now. Build got executed. Go to this console output. Cloning the repository, and it has executed the deployment, and it has exposed service. Once this service got exposed, kubectl get service. Front-end application load balancer got created. This is backend load balancer URL, and this is front-end application load balancer URL. So here in the AWS, we can see 2 load balancers, guys. One is for backend application, another one is for front-end application. Backend application URL configured in the front end. Let us try to access that. Let us try to access our front-end application URL. So this is the URL of our front end. Go to this URL, copy this, access that in the browser. Still the load balancer is not up and running. Let's wait for some time. So last time front-end application deployment got completed successfully, but front-end application not able to connect with the backend application. I'm waiting for that load balancer to be up and running. Get service, load balancer URL we got. This is the load balancer URL. Still, it is not ready. Let me check the logs. kubectl get pods. Front-end pod log I will check. You see here, guys, the pod is image pullback off. That means it is not running. Front-end pod is not running. Okay. kubectl logs. This deployment is failed. Pod is waiting to start, trying and failing to pull the image. Right. Sudo docker images. The image name is available as UI app. Okay. Sudo docker RMI image ID. I have deleted. Sudo docker RMI UI application image. Let me delete it. Deleted. Sudo docker images. Okay. Or else I can do sudo docker system prune -e. Everything will be deleted. Sudo docker images, nothing is available. Now let me do the build. Let me create the image again. It was not able to pull that image. Yeah. Then sudo docker build -t space UI app space dot. Yeah. Sudo docker images. UI app image got created. Let me run this. kubectl get deployment and kubectl get service. Okay, front-end deployment is available. Let me delete only front-end deployment. kubectl delete deployment. Yes. Fine. Now let me recreate this. Build now. Console output. Deployment unchanged. Service unchanged. Finished success. kubectl get pods. kubectl get deployment. The deployment is not deleted. kubectl delete deployment name. Yes, now it deleted. Front end job will now. Okay. kubectl get pods. Error image pull. Image is available. UI app. Is why it is not able to pick up my image. UI app deployment. Docker run -d then UI app. Yes, it is creating, it is able to take the image. Kubernetes file not able to pull that image. Image name is UI app. +-l pi contact UI deployment.yml. Image name is UI app. That is correct. Docker images. Let me do one thing. ls-l files are available. Docker images. Sudo docker images. sudo docker tag ashok it /ui app. Yes, I'm pushing my image to Docker Hub account. I will try to pull it from the Docker Hub account. Yes. Sudo docker push ashok it ui app. I pushed this image into Docker Hub account. Let me take this, edit the image name. I'm giving this, commit the change. Yes, now image is available in the Docker Hub registry. kubectl get deployment. Yeah, deployment is there. kubectl delete deployment name. I have deleted this deployment. Now run it again. Will now. Console output. Now deployment got created. Service is available. kubectl get service. So this is the load balancer URL of front end. Take this. Yeah, front end application I'm able to access. Go to the contact. Let me check the source debugging. Inspect element console, clear that console. I want to add the contact data. Enter, give some number. Click on submit. Perfect. Now it is working. So I'm able to add one contact. Earlier, our front-end application was not able to communicate with the back-end application to save the data. Now our front-end application is able to communicate with the back-end application. Go to contact list, one contact is added. Now go to add contact. Let me add another contact, John @gmail.com, phone number, and submit. So John contact is also added. So you can edit this. John name is available, right? And John @gmail.com, john.some abc. Click on update. Now that email ID got updated. So UI is available in the Angular. The logic is available in the backend. So we are able to deploy the backend application successfully with a Maven build, but we are facing some issue with the npm build for the Angular application. So for the time being, what I have done is I have created I have cloned the Git repository and I installed npm in my machine, and I have done the manual build for the Angular application. I created a Docker image for that, and that Docker image I push it to Docker Hub manually. Then I have done the deployment. So in the front-end job, I have only stage 1 and stage 4. These two stages are not working now because npm is not installed in that Jenkins workspace location. I will check the fix and I will update you by today or tomorrow in the group. So what is the fix that we need to do to install that npm and build that directly through the Jenkins? Yeah. Now you can access our front-end application, and you can also add some data that will be communicated with the backend, and it will give the response to the front end. Can you hit that URL, guys? I have given the URL in the chat box. I have given the URL in the chat box. Can you hit that URL? Are you able to access? No. 404 not found. Whatever the URL I have given in the chat box. Yeah. Hit this URL now, which I have given now. Is it accessible? The second URL which I have given. Now I'm giving one more URL. Wait. Yes. Is it working now? Yeah. You can add the contact, and we can see, yeah, people are able to add the contacts. Whatever the contact you are adding, that contact data coming to the front end. So storing the data, that logic is available in the back end. Displaying the data, that logic is available in the front end. Good. Guys, I will do the fix for this issue, and I will update you, and I will send you the what we need to do in the pipeline in order to do the NPM build directly. If the build is created, if we are able to do the build, then directly we can create the image, then we can do the deployment. So whatever the things that I have done manually, now we need to automate that in the Jenkins pipeline. I will check that issue and I will update you. Yes. Now, anyone having any questions? Anybody having any questions?
Yeah, hi, Ashok.
Yes, sir.
You are changing the base URL, right, in the print end?
Where?
It is working, everything fine. You can change in the previous URL. It is like you can change the backend URL.
We need to configure that backend URL in the front end.
Yeah, it is working fine. After we have to change the previous URL or same like with the backend.
I did not get your question, sir.
Ashok, మీరు చేంజ్ చేశారు కదా URL ప్రింట్ లో నెక్స్ట్ అప్లికేషన్ అంతా వర్క్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత సేమ్ URL ఉంచుతారా లేకపోతే ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఇంతకుముందు ప్రీవియస్ URL ఉంది కదా 8080?
No, we will keep the same URL. We don't change that.
Yeah, that's okay. And one more thing, you have to any application you got any errors like in application, how can you inform to developers?
If there is any issue, then we will send the email to the development team.
How can you find out exactly errors? We can find out.
Whenever there is an error, whenever you run the job, if the job is failed, right, then you will go to the console output of that build number. So earlier here, several jobs are failed. So you will go to that console output, you will take the screenshot and you will send that.
That is the DevOps side or front-end developer side. How you can find out?
If the job is failing, you will understand that, right? Why it is failing. Here, what it is doing, NVM not found. This is not the developer issue. This is the DevOps issue, because we need to take care of all the softwares that are required to build the job. This is not the developer issue. This is the DevOps issue. Okay. So developers issue means code problems. Once application deployment is completed, if code is not working, testers will test it. Testers will inform to the developer. Suppose in this job, if npm command is working, but still build is failing because of some code issue. If that is code issue, then you will send to the developer. Here the problem is the command is not able to execute. That means installation is not happening properly. That is our mistake. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Deepak, for SonarQube and Nexus, already I have given the URL for the SonarQube and Nexus configuration. So SonarQube Nexus already I covered in the DevOps classes, and in the pipeline how to add the Sonar and Nexus, I have shared that video, DevOps project video. If you watch that video there, you will understand that. So currently in my machine, Sonar and Nexus setup is not there. So that's why I am not able to integrate that. Hey guys, I will check this, how to fix this front-end issue, and I will update you in the group. So how we can do the build directly from Jenkins itself. Okay. Thank you guys. So we'll meet again on Monday. So by Monday, we'll come up with the fix for this. Thank you guys.
One more thing. Python application also same procedure.
Python application also same procedure. For Python, build tool is not required because Python is a scripting language.
Okay.
Yeah. For React and
GitHub.
Angular, for Angular and React, the process is same.
Okay.
Ashok, for AWS, do we need to delete all the clusters and all the things because the month is going to be end? So we will
Yes, sir. Yes. So once this fix is completed, then I will try to do this today and we will delete that by tomorrow.
so that we can make a request and we can use it next month, right?
Correct.
Ashok, this GitHub URL is not updated in the notes, I guess. This two
Yes.
URL.
I gave in the notes already.
Means today you updated or yesterday, because I checked it, but it was not
Yesterday
updated.
itself it is updated.
Okay. Okay.
Or else you can go to my GitHub account, you can check contact backend, contact UI.
Okay.
Good guys. Thank you. See you on Monday.